Once again, I encourage you to have pencil and paper. And when I say things that you might think are worthwhile, and hopefully that's most of what I'll be talking about, write them down and stop the video so that you can write them down. Okay. Um, we're actually, obviously, we're getting to the end of the whole research paper thing. And, um, actually, I deliberately brought a cup of coffee with me because at this point, you should be able to just relax and put it together. So have a cup of coffee, have a glass of Pepsi, have a glass of wine, whatever it takes you um, to relax and work on this because you've done the big part now. You know, this is the nuts and bolts in the sense the part that um, well, I mean it's not like it's trivial. I don't want to say that because again we're dealing with stuff that can cost you points even though you've worked very hard. But you shouldn't be uptight about all of this. You should work your way through it in a very systematic kind of fashion. So, I've used the word process all semester from the time we started, and we talked about writing as a process, and then I told you writing a research paper was going to be a process. And then in the video that I made for you yesterday, that is for your December 1 class, I went through the process of setting up your reference page or bibliography page or works cited page, except that in APA it's called references. Okay, and again I want to repeat that. So it's this is all process stuff, and so there's no reason for you to be uptight about it. It's just follow the process. So jot down notes for yourself. Okay, okay. So I want to very quickly review the major points that I told you about the reference page. And so you can check and make sure you have all of the stuff written down. Separate sheet of paper. The references go on a separate sheet. You have the word reference with just the beginning R capitalized, but the whole word in bold centered at the top of your page. That you number that page, and if numbering is a problem, then number it by hand. Okay, but the numbers go on the top. I don't care if they're on the right side or the left side. If your package does it one way or another, it doesn't matter to me. If your package doesn't do it at all, it's kind of easier for me to see if it's on the right hand side as I look at it, the right hand side of the page. Okay, but that's up to you. Okay, so that's three things. Fourth, reverse indentation. Okay, and I spelled that out, I think, pretty clearly in the video that I made for December 1. But if you don't understand it, then look at the sample reference page on page 324 in your text, right, 324. And you'll see the first word in each entry goes to the margin. Each succeeding line is indented a tab, 5 spaces, 6 spaces, whatever, okay? And then when you get down to the next entry, over to the margin, okay? So that's how the whole thing gets set up. You double space all the way through your reference page, the same way you double space all the way through the entire research paper. And your entries on the reference page go in alphabetical order by the first word in that entry, okay? And in the video for December 1st, I went into the different kinds of entries. If you have an author's name, then you'll be alphabetizing by the author's name. If you don't, you'll alphabetize by the title. If you don't have an author's name or a title, you'll alphabetize it by where you found it then, So alphabetical order, the whole thing, A through Z, one straight line. Don't separate online from print text or anything like that. One straight thing, okay? So follow those rules, and you won't lose any points. Again, my view is that you start with 100, and so you can go backwards from there. if you make mistakes. Okay, so reference, done with that. Okay, we have a couple of things to talk about today. One of them is a title page, and in APA there is a formal title page. Okay, your book has a sample title page on page 316, 316. Okay, so hopefully you have your book with you and you can flip to 316 and see that. The way that it's set up is you center the title and you make it in bold letters, you know, maybe 2 inches down from the top of the page. Okay, and again, you center it. Okay, and that's all in bold letters, and you capitalize the first letter of each word. You don't capitalize the whole thing. Fussy little rules, I don't make them. I can only share them with you, but by talking about them, hopefully they'll stick in your mind a little bit. Okay, then skip down, I don't know, maybe an inch, and then center your name. Okay, center your name. Then from here, just double space as we go through the rest of these entries. Trocaire College will be the next line. The name of the course, EN 101, English composition. That's on the next line. And then my name, and please spell my name correctly. That's on the next line. If you don't know how to spell my name, I will spell it for you right now. CHERNOWSKI. Okay. So that's the next line. And then the last line will be the date, which I guess is December. Somebody text me and tell me if we said December 8th or December 10th. Because I was thinking December 8th, and then I thought maybe we said December 8th. We should save for last minute questions on your part. So somebody text me and let me know if it's December 8th or December 10th. Okay? Okay, so that's the title page. There's a format for the title page. Please do it by the format that I just gave to you. And I could hold up. Well, let's see if you can even see this. Yeah, you can see that. See, that's kind of what it looks like. That's the form. Now, they have the department on there, too. Well, don't worry about the department, okay? But that's what it's supposed to look like. So set up your title page like that, okay? Okay. Now, in APA, if you want to, you can break your paper down into different sections, okay? If you want to. You don't have to. But if your paper does naturally break down into different sections, you can title each section and then go. Whether you do that or not, you double space through the entire paper. Okay, so again, you just set up your laptop for double spacing, and then you double space through the entire paper. Okay, and so again, here's page 317 in your text, but I know some of you might have been sharing texts, and then the person you were sharing with might have dropped out and might still have the text. So you can see this is their first page of text, and you can see how they've broken it up into different parts. Again, you don't have to do that, but you can if you want. And notice the kind of the topic or the title of each separate part is in bold and is centered. Okay, so fussy little things, but that's how it goes. So if you do break it up into parts, and you title separate parts, center that title for each part and put it in bold letters. Okay, fussy little things. Okay, and again, it's messing up on the fussy things that will hurt your paper, because I'm confident that each of you is going to write a very good paper. You have all been doing your work. You've all shown me the work that you've been doing. So really, overall, you should be in good shape on this, which is why you want a cup of coffee or a glass of wine as you're writing it, okay? I belong to a book club, and for the last 20 months, 22 months, we've been meeting this way, okay, on FaceTime, okay, and so each person has their own adult beverage. For me, it's always a cup of coffee. For some of the others, it's a glass of wine, and it's okay. It's five guys, and we have a great time discussing different books besides all the other things that are going on in our lives. So it's just a whole lot of fun. It's a way to get together. And, when we're done, then we're done. And good night and see you in a month, so it's cool. Anyway, okay, so back to now. We've talked about in-text referencing in class. And again, I want to repeat this. And I know we talked about it in class a couple of times, but each idea that you take from somebody else, whether it's in your words, the words of the original author, you've put it into a summary, you've paraphrased it, whatever, if it's somebody else's idea, you have to tell idea by idea where those ideas come from, okay? And so, like if it's a book, you'll have in parentheses at the end of the idea or at the end of a quote, you'll have in parentheses author's last name and the date of publication, author's last name, date of publication, and then the page number from that work that it came from. If it's something that's broken down into page numbers. Not everything is broken down into page numbers, okay? Stuff online isn't broken down into page numbers. Okay, so that's the simple format for it, okay? Now, you don't always have an author, then put as much of the title as you need so that when the reader reads that quote or that paraphrase or that summary that you put into your paper, they can get to exactly where it came from. Because, for instance, on page 318 in your text, where there is a sample research paper starting on 317, just the fourth line down starts with, in parentheses, Hawker et al., 2012. And so how the person finds that then is they know that that was written by, that idea came from Hawker, okay? It's not a quote, right? Because there's no quotation marks around the information before it. So that person isn't giving us a quote in their paper right there. They're taking somebody else's idea and putting it into their own words. And whose idea is that? That's Hawker's idea. And who's Hawker? This is why the reference page is so important. If you look back at the reference page on 324, the second one up from the bottom starts with Hawker. And then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total of 6 authors, okay? And, we talked about the reference page yesterday. So in this one, it's Hawker et al. So it came from that book from author that you just looked at in the reference. So now we go back to here and we know exactly where it's from. We know exactly where that idea from Hawker came from, okay? And it must be a work that's not broken down into pages because there's no page number given. But if you go halfway, right in the middle of the page, there is another parenthetical reference by Steer in parentheses, okay? When I say parenthetical reference, I mean the stuff in parentheses. Steer and Sikent, 2003, page 2472. Must be something broken down into volumes, I don't know. But anyway, you know that if you look at your reference, you can find Steer and Sikent and the same date of publication. And then this tells you that it's on page, this idea came from page 2472 in that work by Steer and Sikent. Okay, so what we're doing is we're setting up a roadmap so that we can go from this idea in your paper. Where'd that idea come from? Okay, here's the author's name. Well, now let's look at the references. Oh, okay, it came from this work and the references. And now we go back to the in-text reference, the parenthetical reference. and we know exactly what page it came from. Okay, so we're setting up a roadmap so that your reader can get to exactly where that idea came from, exactly where you as a writer found that idea, so that if the reader wants to find out more about that idea, they can get right to your source and read more. And besides that, it's giving credit to where that idea came from. We talked about the fact that if you don't give credit to where an idea comes from, it's considered plagiarism. Okay? So your book shows you the form for each one, but keep in mind, it's a simple, it's just common sense stuff. It really is just common sense stuff. It's like, okay, if there's no author, then you put in something, enough of the title. If there's no title, then enough of the website, so that the person can get from that idea in your paper to your list of references, so that they can know exactly where that idea came from. And that's what in-text citations or parenthetical references, same thing, okay, are all about. Now, anytime you use the author's words in your paper, put quotation marks around them, okay? In a typical freshman paper, there are a lot of direct quotes. So if you use a lot of direct quotes, don't feel badly about that. If you rewrite most of it into your own words, that's okay. You still give that author credit for it. You just don't have quotation marks around it because you've written it in your own words. Okay? Hopefully you understand that whole concept. So again, every idea you take from somebody else, you have to show where it comes from. You do that right within the text, as we just talked about. Okay? And again, hopefully you all have a book, or you have an online book where you can get to the right page. And so again, I'll hold this up so that maybe you can see it. But well, let's go over here. Here's the first one I talked about, I think. Yeah, this side. Let's see if we can get that clear enough to show. Yeah, that third line down. See in parentheses, Hawker et al. 2012. Okay, so the idea coming above that came from that work by Hawker and others. And when there's only two authors, then you list both of them. So we saw that one that was a little bit further down, Steer and Sikant, there were two authors. But when there's more than two authors, you only list the first author's name that's given, and then you use the abbreviation ET AL period, and that means and others. ET is the Latin word for and, okay, and alias is the Latin word for others, okay, and you're familiar with that et because you've done etc, which means etc, and so forth, et, so that's and, okay, so don't tie yourself in knots over this stuff. Just make it obvious where each one comes from. And again, there's samples of the format for in-text citations in your book. Okay, so whatever you might have. If you do a personal interview, okay, then in your list of references, you just say the person's last name, comma, first name, and then you'd say in a personal interview and the date. It's as simple as that, if perchance you do. So then, if you use something from that personal interview in your paper, then you just give the person's last name. Okay, and the date. Okay, so those are the unusual ones. All the other stuff is in there. So hopefully, all of this makes it a little bit easier. Now, a few other tips for you. Okay, don't type this the night before it's due. Type it 2 or 3 nights before it's due, because you need to have time to separate mentally from what you've just finished typing before you can proofread it carefully, okay? And you want to proofread carefully because spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes are going to cost you points, and you've done too much work to lose points on things that you can completely control, okay? So, don't finish typing it and proofread it right away. Give yourself, if you can, give yourself a day's removal from it. At least a few hours removal from it, so your brain is not in the same mindset it was when you typed it. Okay, so that's a big one for you. Just put a staple in the upper left hand corner. Don't use I don't like binders. Just put a staple in the upper left hand corner. Um, the whole thing gets double spaced all the way through. Um, if you want to use charts and graphs, they show you how to do that in your book too. Um, and relax. Be yourself. You've gathered a whole bunch of information. You have a lot of it now. You have all of it at your own control. It's all yours. You've written an outline, so you know what order you want to put it in. So you're in great shape. Now you just need to tell idea by idea where it all comes from. Okay? So don't drive yourself crazy. I think I told you 5 to 7 pages. Okay, so if it came out 4 3/4 pages, I'm not going to penalize you for that. Oh, I know what I want to tell you too. When you break it, if you break it down into sections, okay, as we talked about right in the beginning, APA you can break down into sections. Do not start a new page with each section. Just be continuous all the way through. Okay? So do not start new pages. Some people like to do that because then it makes it look like they fill out more pages. Well, okay, obviously I know that. So don't be nervous about this. I have confidence. You're all great students. I am so pleased with you guys, and I've been telling you that all semester because you're just a great class. You know. So if you have any questions, you know where to get me. Okay, call me, text me. Call me and text me is better than emailing me. Okay. But if nothing else, you can email me. Like, if I were sitting on my computer, I don't know how to send a text from my computer. I don't know if I can. I certainly can from my phone. This guy sent lots of texts, and I get your text on it. But text or phone call is better. Okay, so even though I'm not going to be in class the first and the third, I'm available to you if you need me. And if you call me and I don't answer, then leave a voicemail and I'll get back to you. Okay, I'm just tied up so that I can't be there those days. But otherwise, go to it, have fun, enjoy. You're great, you're great. And then somebody please text me and tell me if this is due the 8th or the 10th, because we may have left the 8th. Let's say it's due the 10th. Okay, let's say it's due the 10th. So the 8th will have one last class where you get a chance to ask questions about anything you want to. So your final paper will be due on the 10th. Okay, so but I'll be in class on the 8th, and I hope you'll be in class on the 8th. Okay, but again, we don't have class the 1st and the 3rd. Moodle is your class for the 1st and the 3rd. Okay, take care, enjoy. Hopefully Thanksgiving was great, and we'll see you all soon.